Senator Braun, if you want to go ahead.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Good to be talking to you again. I just attended earlier today the National Federation of Independent Business Owners, and I and another congresswoman were answering questions that they have. And many there are concerned in general about Main Street businesses. My wife has had one since 1978 in our downtown. Some of the stuff that happened through COVID, a lot of those businesses got shut down. And many of them are grappling with all the issues we hear every day, a lot pre-COVID, workforce. There's a particular part of the economy, though, the gig economy, and independent contractors, Main Street business owners, that so many of them, to me, are so analogous to blue-collar workers because they actually live out of these businesses. And I've always been a proponent in running my own business for 37 years at high wages, great benefits, safe workplace, no turnover. And I think that generally, Main Street America, smaller businesses do all of that. Let's focus on the gig economy, particularly independent contractors. It seems like, and they think that the current administration is trying to, take their way of life away. They looked at the PRO Act. They look at some of the things that are being done. I would like your general comment on why we would look at them any differently from the good blue-collar worker that most of us employ for those same reasons. Why would we want to do anything that would diminish their way of living? Because to me, they are that.
No, thank you, Senator. And in a lot of cases, independent contractors, people who are independently employed, do great work. And they are part of our economy. And they're part of our, in some cases, part of our main streets. We see it in trucking, and we see it in different industries. The concern that I've always had when it comes to independent contracting is folks that are under the understanding that they are hired as employees, and then they're paid with a 1099, and they're not technically, they're actually an employee of a company. And I think that there's many different definitions of the concerns that people have in that. And that's kind of where, when I say this, I'll speak for myself personally, that I've always gotten concerned. An example of that is a restaurant where somebody gets hired as a dishwasher, and then all of a sudden they're being paid with a 1099 and they have no repercussion at all. They're really not an independent contractor. They're a dishwasher who works for a company. And we've been able, the Department of Labor over the years has gone back and claimed lost wages for people that have been characterized or described in those different areas. But when you talk about Main Street, I hear what you're saying. I mean, my former role, obviously, we had a lot of businesses that people might have had a flower shop, or they had something that they were in themselves, their own worker, they're independent. They kind of did their own thing, or they were a planner or things like that. I understand that.
So let's focus more closely on gig economy then, because I don't think you should game the system by issuing 1099s when technically that individual is an employee. That to me is maybe skirting the rules. But let's focus on gig economy. These are individual business owners, and they're worried too that just by that they're going to be drawn into that independent contractor issue and then lose their independence, their livelihood, because they would not be of that same category you're talking to. They are running their own businesses, and generally a business of one.
Yeah, in the gig economy, I mean, I've spent a lot, when I say a lot of time, I've spent a fair amount of time in talking to the gig economy companies here in America, both the leadership of the companies, the advocacy groups that are pro gig economy companies, and some of the other side that isn't pro gig economy. And I know that in a lot of states, California passed a ballot initiative, Washington State passed a law, And in Massachusetts yesterday, the Massachusetts Supreme Court just threw the ballot question for the gig economy, for the Uber and Lyfts, off the ballot. So basically saying you have to come up with legislation. So I know a lot of these conversations are happening in other places. I actually had a conversation last week, I'll be real quick on this, before I have another question, with Germany, talking about what they did with the gig economy in Germany. So just asking what was the path forward there. So we have not taken any action as a department, but I am still talking to all these groups.
Well, very good, because I think that in our unique economy, you've got anywhere from huge corporations that, to me, shoulder the biggest responsibility, and where unions definitely come into play because of the counterweight against that much financial power. Make sure that we don't take Main Street America in all of its individualism, kind of swept into a category that they're not part of, because you never know when that individual, that gig business, that small business on Main Street becomes a larger business, and to realize most of them make their living out of that. They're not growing it with return on equity in mind.
And if you want to let the independent group that you spoke to today, they're more than welcome. I'd love to sit and talk to them.
Thank you.
Thank you. Senator Capito.
Thank you, Madam Chairman.